the RPGBOT.Podcast. I'm Randall James, your dungeon master tonight. That's right, yeah. So we're going to have a special episode. We have a special guest today, Jody.
Hi.
All right. This is the third episode in the arc that we put together where Random Pal worked with Jody to talk about what a tabletop role-playing game is. Tyler worked with Jody to put together a D&D 5th edition character. And now Jody and I are going to play a session. We're going to play a one-shot all the way through. And this is kind of meant to be an introduction to the game. And so, Jody, this is your first time playing a tabletop game, right?
It is, yes.
You excited?
I am really excited about it. So we'll we'll see how I do.
Oh, it's going to be great. I guarantee you're going to be great. So yeah, we're going to do this. And Jody, as you have questions, ask, because the whole idea of this is we're hoping other people who maybe haven't played a lot or haven't played at all will be able to listen to this, hear the same kinds of questions that you ask and kind of put the game together to where, they can then step off and feel more comfortable stepping into their own actual play. Because I think a lot of times the fear of like not knowing what you're doing when you get in there can be a barrier. And we really don't want that to be a barrier to getting in, because this really is a welcoming hobby. Folks
Right.
enjoy new people coming in. So let's introduce your character a little bit. How do you pronounce her name?
Andre Tea Leaf.
Andre Tea Leaf. I like that. Okay. Tell me about Andre.
Well, Andre is a halfling as a race and a druid, a class 1 druid.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. A druid as the class, level 1, with a background of being a hermit.
Okay.
And I
Awesome.
chose the name Andre because it was one of the options it gave in the book, and I liked it. But then I chose tea leaf because drinking tea is one of my things.
Perfect.
So
I
I
like
like
that
it.
a lot. Awesome. So I think we can step into the game, and then my thought would be that as we encounter things that we've done for the first time, so the first time we do a skill check or the first time we enter combat, we'll kind of do the meta of like what we're doing and why we're doing it at the same time that we actually play the game. Sounds good?
Okay. Yes.
All right. Because we're doing a short one shot, I'm going to kind of set the scenario for us. A lot of times in a longer campaign, what a dungeon master likes to do is put everybody in a tavern, put everybody in a bar, or some scenario where the characters can kind of figure out what motivates them, what gets them excited, what adventure do they want to go have. But in this case, we'll kind of set up the adventure to where we're going right into the action, as opposed to kind of having that dwelling of like, oh, what are we doing? So you live in the kingdom of Manta.
Okay.
There's a rumor going around that the king's court wizard is doing unnatural things.
Okay.
As a druid, druids tend to not like unnatural things. In particular, any kind of undead is considered an affront. And it's generally something that, if somebody's dabbling in necromancy, dabbling with the undead, that's a thing that makes most druids unhappy.
Okay.
So your character has heard rumors that this is happening to people thrown into the prison. And your character thought, who better to solve this problem than yourself? So you got yourself thrown in prison so that you could find evidence
Okay.
and then escape with evidence.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
I'll ask the question, do you have any thoughts on what kind of crime you might have committed to get arrested?
Well, first thought is theft. I
Okay. No,
stole
that's an
something.
easy way.
Okay.
What would you steal and who would you steal it for?
Who would I steal it for? Well, okay. My first thought was kind of an Aladdin thing. I'd steal a loaf of bread for some hungry children.
Okay, I love that. I think that's great. And in fact, yeah, so I like that. What I want to do, because I think that's a cool idea, like taking care of kids.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you're going to do something that's technically wrong, you're still trying to do something good with it. I want to give you inspiration.
Okay.
And so at the top left of your character sheet, there's a little box that says inspiration. You can check that off.
Okay. Just put a check mark in the box.
That's right.
Okay, got it.
And then later on, if you have something that you really want to make sure you succeed on, let me know and we'll talk about how to use inspiration to make that happen.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. All right, so that's fantastic. So Andre stole a loaf of bread, running away from the guard or maybe walking away from the guard, not that briskly because you kind of wanted to get caught. You gave the loaf of bread to a group of children, but you were ultimately caught by the guard.
Mhm.
To your surprise, they bring you into the guard's keep, which is hooked to the prison, but they don't take your gear. They don't take your equipment. They leave you with your scimitar. They leave you with your focus and your shield. They open a trap door and they push you to the brink of the trap door. And one of the guards leans in and he says, "The wizard's waiting for you down there." And then he
Okay.
pushes you in.
Okay.
You land on all fours. And the first thing you notice is that your hands kind of sink into the muck a bit. It's a little bit damp. As the door is closing, you look around and you see that you're in a stone walled cell. It's fairly large, and the ground is kind of bare dirt and mucky and icky. But
Okay.
right at that moment that you've appreciated this much of your surroundings, the trapdoor above you closes and you're left in pitch black.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
Produce flame.
Okay, all right. So you have a
Is
cantrip,
that
which is produce flame. No, brilliant.
okay?
That's perfect.
Okay.
So yeah, you have a cantrip, which is produce flame. That's going to last for 10 minutes, and it lets you see, I think it's 10 feet in front of you. And so you can you have dim light in a 10-foot radius. Okay, and so you cast that. You look around. You can see two of the walls. They're grimy and mossy. There's like green fuzz growing out. So apparently light does come in here at some point. You can't see the other two walls, but there's pillars throughout the room. And as far as you can see, the floor is kind of mucky. Basically, as you felt with your hands, you see it looks as gross as it felt. What do you want to do?
Well, I was told there would be a wizard in there, correct?
Well, you said the
Or
wizard
did
was
I-
going to be waiting for you. So I don't
Oh,
know if that means
okay.
the wizard's going to be in the room.
Well, would I cast a spell to detect magic? Or what other options would I have in a situation like this? I've never been in like
No, no, understood. So it's a good question. You have, as a level 1 druid, you have 2 level 1 spell slots, which means you can cast 2 of your 4 level 1 spells before you take a long rest. So what I
Mhm.
would say, I don't know if detect magic is going to give you a lot of value here because you're not sure, like you don't see anything that's potentially magical unless somebody's like hiding invisibly in front of you, something like this.
Okay.
What I would what I would say, because you can only see 2 of the walls of the room, so there's more room to be explored.
So I need to look under my skill set versus the spells at this moment?
So that's a good question. What I would actually say is maybe ignore the character sheet for now, and just intuitively, if Andre's in a room, Andre
Uh-huh.
can only see about 10 feet in front of her, and she can only see kind of half the cell. What would you want to do? Do you want to, kind of check this part of the cell a little closer? Do you want to just go see what's on the other side?
So I could say I would like to walk around or walk forward. How specific do I have to be?
So all great questions. 100%. You can, and this is actually, I want to drive this home. You can say that you want to try to do whatever you want to try to do. In the worst case, the DM is going to say, I'm not going to allow that. I'm going to try to use my own hair to start a fire in the middle of the mucky room. I'm probably going to say, okay, no, this isn't going to work. And you already have produced flame, so it's good. But yeah, like if your instinct is to walk around, 100%, just say, I want to walk around. Kind of a good rule of thumb that most DMs will use. If you're likely to success, if basically there's no chance of failure when you go to do something, I won't even ask you to roll. So for instance, if you tell me you just want to go look around the other side of the room, to look around the room, I won't ask you to roll. I'll give you a brief description of kind of everything that's obvious over there.
Okay.
And then if you say, well, I want to look a little bit harder at this feature or that feature, that might be the place where I'd say, okay, look, let's make a perception, let's make an investigation roll.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Well, then I would like to walk around and look at more of the room.
awesome. Okay, so you walk around the edge of the room, and of course you're skeptical because you're in a dungeon. You came here to find somebody doing terrible things. When you hit the far wall, the very first thing you notice is that there's a large oaken door. Written above the door in very large letters, it says, "Speak, criminal, and move freely."
Okay.
And as you
Okay.
continue, oh, go ahead.
No, I'm digesting that.
Okay.
Okay.
And then as you continue to move around, you kind of walk all the way to the far wall just to see what's over there. Will you make a perception check for me? And so to do a check, this is our first skill check. Let's look at your character sheet. You're proficient in perception. You have the little dot filled in for it.
Yeah.
And so your wisdom bonus is a +3. Your proficiency bonus is a +2. So all that together is a +5, and you have it marked like that on your character sheet.
Hmm.
So to make that perception skill check, we're going to roll a d20, and then we're going to add that 5 to the d20. And then I have a number that I know I want you to roll in order to kind of at levels of perception, so to speak.
Okay. I rolled a 16 plus
Okay.
5 is 21.
That's great. Okay. So you notice this inscription. You also notice huddling in the corner a small mouse. What would you like to do?
Oh my goodness. Um, I guess my first thought is speak with animals, but oh,
That's a cool idea.
okay. All right. But so because this is also new, I'm going right for the spells, but is there something on in my skill area that would help in this? I mean, what are my options here? What kinds of things can be done?
Understood. So I think before we talk about options, it's kind of a what do you think you want to do? So we have looked around the room. There's only one obvious kind of exit point.
Mhm.
You did do a perception check and you rolled pretty well on the perception check.
Okay.
You didn't find kind of any, I'll say, obviously hidden exits, but you did find a mouse, and the mouse is kind of sitting there patiently. And so, what we've identified about the room is a door. There's a question of whether you want to get through that door or not. And I would
Okay,
pose to you, do you think you want to get through the door?
that was kind of after I said, "What are my options?" I thought back about the door because I was focused on the mouse huddling in the corner at that moment, but then I did think while you were speaking that I would wanna see if I can open it, just check to see
Okay.
if it's unlocked.
Awesome. Yeah. So you approach the door. It has a handle, kind of same as any door. The handle doesn't turn
Okay.
as if it were locked.
Okay. Alright. Hmm. I mean, is there something in oh, goodness.
Some characters would have something like a lockpick and they could attempt to pick the lock or jimmy the lock. If you had tools, you might make an argument about like messing with the hinges or this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think these things are available to you. So I think we'll have to do this a different way. And that's where I'll call out, right? So written above the door, we have this speak criminal and move freely.
Okay. So with at that point, do you say that you would like to call out something, like call to see? Uh, I mean,
If you want to call out something,
yeah, I like to call to see if someone's there,
you
if
can.
someone
You could
would
try
come and
this.
open the door.
You could try
Okay.
this.
Okay. So what do I do now?
Whatever you want to say, whatever you want
Okay.
your player character to say, just say it as if, and like what some people do, because it's the most comfortable thing is like, Andre says,
Okay. Andre says, "Hello, is anyone out there?"
okay, nobody responds. You don't hear anything. You wait maybe another 30 seconds, another minute goes by, and still nothing responds.
Okay. And I don't have any tools to open the door. Okay. Is that at the point where I want to try and speak with the animal to see what the animal knows? The
I think
mouse?
I think that's a cool idea.
Okay.
All right. And so
So,
you'll cast your level 1 speak with animals.
okay.
And what that does, it lets you talk with animals for 10 minutes, and kind of what they're able to communicate to you is limited by their intelligence.
Okay.
So we're going to hope this is a very smart mouse. And so you now have the ability to speak to the mouse.
Okay.
So what typically happens in this situation, I'm going to be the mouse and you get to be Andre. And so we could just have a conversation as the characters, and I'll kind of leave it to you to make the first move because you've cast the spell. The mouse, I'm not going to lie, is probably going to be a little bit surprised that this person is speaking in a way that the mouse understands.
Oh, okay. So my first thought was to say, "Don't be afraid, little mouse.
How,
It's okay.
how could I not be?
Oh, I won't hurt you.
That's fantastic.
Can you tell me where I am?"
You're in my home.
Okay.
Do you have any crumbs?
I do have some crumbs in my pocket. Do you?
Fantastic. He reaches out, takes crumbs,
Okay.
nibbling crumbs.
Okay. So then I say, "Well, little mouse, could you tell me how I can get out of here?"
Uh, so the mouse is kind of looking back and forth and just is looking at the door. It's like, well,
Okay.
some
Do you
people go through the door.
He's telling me I'm asking silly questions. Okay.
No, no, these are great questions. The mouse is not smart. That's really the issue.
Do people come in through this store very often?
uh, yeah, so sometimes people kind of walk around and they sit and they don't do much. And other people come through the door. And when they come through the door, usually it's bad for the person. But other times, people walk up to the door they look at it, and he raises both of his hands above his head, kind of like in like a bear pose almost. They look at it, and they squeak. They squeak at the door. They squeak at the door, and the door opens. Then they leave.
Oh, can you tell me what it sounds like when they squeak at the door?
Uh, uh, you got any more of them crumbs?
I do have more crumbs. Here you
Oh,
are.
all right, not missing the chance for a meal. He eats a few crumbs. He walks to the position he was talking about. He puts his hands up in the bear pose, and he's and he's looking at you, hoping that this is doing something good for you. But he's like,
So so I walk over to the door and I raise my arms in the similar position and I say, "Vroom, vroom, 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 vroom," like he did.
I don't think that's it. That doesn't sound. That doesn't sound like what I said.
Can I hear it again?
So the problem is he doesn't speak common, and so if they were saying a word in common, he doesn't actually understand what they've said.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only thing he can really do is kind of mimic what he thought he heard. But he gets in front of it and he's, ah, criminal.
Okay. So that is not helping. Okay. Hmm.
I can I can do better.
Okay.
Do you have any cheese?
I have some crumbs of cheese in my other pocket. Here you
Oh,
are.
it's my lucky day. Sorry, that's the wrong voice. Well, I'm sorry, it's my lucky day. And so he takes a little bit and he gets in front of it. He's like, criminal, criminal.
Okay, so that's not something I understand as a word, but at this point, would I be able to try and mimic that?
You can try.
Okay, I'm walking over to the door. I'm raising my arms. I'm saying, crumina, crumina.
So the first time that you say it, the door just slams open,
Okay,
and we did it.
okay. We did
All
it. We
right.
opened the door.
The mouse is now staring at you and staring at the open door. He's like, oh, you did it. Good job.
And I say, thank you, little mouse. Here's a few more crumbs.
Oh, thank you very much. Takes as many crumbs as he can in his little grubby paws, and he kind of runs off into the dark.
Okay.
When you open the door, light comes through from the room beyond.
Okay.
It illuminates, everything in your room looks about as much as you remembered when you were first thrown in. It's still mucky, stone walls, this sort of thing. But you can immediately see the room beyond is lit by torchlight. Not extremely well lit, but much better lit than your current room. There's a nice running carpet along the doorway. You can see tapestries hung on the wall on the part of the wall that you can see. And there's wooden tables and bookshelves here and there. What looks like almost like a apothecary station or like a laboratory station is kind of visible in the distance. And you can't see most of the room. You can see maybe 20 foot, 20 foot to the other wall. But of course, everything occluded by the wall is hidden from you. What would you like to do?
So what I'm doing I'm trying to look for evidence that someone is dealing with unnatural things. And so this would be a room where that could possibly be happening.
That's right.
So I would like to investigate or look around more
Okay.
in the room.
Well, and so I will say, and this is a kind of a typical role playing thing. So there's always a potential for combat.
Mhm.
And so in a situation like this where you're in a prison, you're in a dungeon, when you enter the room, you want to enter the room cautiously. And so I don't want to move past having a conversation about how you enter the room.
Okay.
In other words, you talk about like I could go in and I could start investigating this sort of thing. And I think that does make sense. But the very first conversation we should have is like getting you into the room and kind of talking about everything that's obviously visible. And
Okay.
then we can hop into like, okay, now what are the things you really want to dive into?
Okay. All right.
And so yeah, how do you want to enter the room?
Okay. So this is where you kind of get descriptive in the game. You say, Andre cautiously steps into the room and glances around looking to see if there are any other occupants. That
That's
kind of thing?
perfect. No, that's
Okay.
awesome. So what we'll do, you have in your skills stealth.
Okay. I see it.
So let's roll a d20.
Okay. Funny. Oh, I rolled a 3.
Okay,
And
and then,
I have a +2 for stealth.
so you have a 5 total.
That's not very good.
Okay, so Andre wants to sneak, but
Uh-huh.
as Andre's stepping towards it, her boot gets stuck in the muck, and it makes this wonderful like sound, and it reverberates. You feel as if it bounces around the room for seconds until finally everything goes to quiet. And before you can actually enter the room, you suddenly hear,
Oh, well, I know
and
someone else is in the room.
you enter the room and you look at the source of the sound.
Okay.
There's a man sitting behind bars in a prison cell. He's fairly well dressed. Within the room, there's a desk and there's a bed, but again, completely behind prison cells. And he says to you, it's like, oh, you're a clever one. You solved the puzzle. The wizard likes clever ones who can solve the puzzle. Their ends are always much better.
Okay.
As you hear this and you're taking this in, you also notice next to his cell is another cell separated by a wall. In that cell, it is not nearly as nice. There's no bunk, there's no desk, there's basically the same muck floor that you were just in a moment ago. And there's a half elf sitting kind of scrunched up with like the fetal position, so knees up to the chest, arms wrapped around knees, and he appears to be asleep.
Okay.
What would you like to do?
Well, I'm thinking my options are to try to engage the first person character a little more and
Okay.
ask questions. And then another option would be to try to communicate with the half elf, or I could try to investigate the room a little further. But
Okay.
can I start with asking questions
Absolutely.
of the okay, so Andre would say, "Who are you?" to
Oh,
the
I'm to the awake man, the one who clapped when you first
yes,
entered the room.
yes.
It's like, oh, I'm but a humble prisoner. Happy to make your acquaintance.
All right. Why are you here?
Well, I was placed here, and I stay here because they lost the key.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
It's actually
Um,
very fortunate because me in this room, I am much more comfortable than most of the people who come through here.
okay. How did you become so fortunate as to have a more comfortable position?
No, well, no, that's a funny story. And as he says that, he kind of like pulls down his collar a little bit and shows a key out from underneath his collar. And he's like, yeah, so as I say, when they put me in here, apparently they lost the key. But the wizard finds me entertaining, and as long as he finds me entertaining, he lets me be.
Oh,
And so this is a much better life for me.
well, who is the guy in the other? Who is the half elf in the other cell? Who is that?
The lunatic, the crazy man. All he does is babble all day long, all day long. I love these moments where he sleeps because I don't have to listen to his, incessant prattling.
Okay. Okay. There's probably another good question I need to ask this guy.
Well, and I mean, here's the great thing:
Oh,
he's stuck, so
uh-huh.
he's not going anywhere. We can always ask him
So what is that key for?
for my cell door.
So he's not actually stuck.
Well, uh, if I knew that I could actually escape the prison
Oh, I see.
without dying, I certainly would be willing to leave this cell. But until I feel very comfortable that I can escape this prison without dying, I'm not going anywhere.
Does that key open any other doors besides your cell?
I've never tried because well, I I don't want to let anybody know that I have the key. But you're
Hmm.
harmless. You'll be dead before anyone asks you.
Okay, so the wizard that you've mentioned, when will he return?
Oh, well, and you ask that and he starts to turn and look at like the moss on the walls and like he looks at his left elbow trying to he's like, "Oh, I'd say in the coming, in the next 2 hours or maybe the next 2 days. I don't know."
What does the wizard do here in this room?
Ah, uh, research mostly. I'll ask you to make an insight check.
Okay. Okay. Now what is that? What's an
So
insight?
in your skill, about halfway down, there's this insight. And
Mhm.
again, so your wisdom's +3, your proficiency is +2, so you'll actually get a +5 on this.
Okay. Uh-huh. So if I do an insight check, what happens?
Depending on how well you do, I'm gonna tell you what your insight on this person is. And so the way the insight skill works, especially dealing with people, is it's reading between the lines.
Okay.
And some of that you kind of do, like I'll do in character to where you can obviously read between the lines. And then sometimes it's worthwhile to actually use your character skill to really peer between the lines and understand, look, either there's no way this is true or absolutely that's true. I don't think this person's trying to lie to me. And so
Mhm.
kind of the benefit of it is, let's say in a typical situation, if you roll fairly well and the DM tells you, I'm pretty sure this person's telling you the truth, or I'm pretty sure this person's lying,
Mm.
you as a player can feel comfortable that, I don't need to dig into this any further because I rolled it really well. I have a good insight score. And I was told that based on what the non-player character said, I believe them. And so you get to believe them.
Okay.
It's not very often that a DM would like mislead you on a good insight roll.
So my question is if I was playing this game and, I escaped the room that I was originally in, I'm now in this new room that I tripped into, and I meet this well-dressed character and I see this other half elf that's sleeping. Should I go for insight early on versus I'm trying to have a conversation and get information first? I mean,
That's an interesting question. So I guess I'm used to thinking of insight as a tool in conversation to understand I should whether I should believe somebody, or whether there's something I should dig deeper, or whether I get a sense in everyday conversation. And I think it really is analogous to, like, your own personal spider sense when you're yeah, spidey sense, yeah. When you're dealing with somebody. So when you
mhm,
meet somebody and they start to introduce themselves and tell you about themselves, and you get the feeling like this just isn't right,
okay.
or I immediately love this person, like I think this person is great.
Yeah.
One of the things that comes with this is, like, if you have a more charismatic character, in real life, if you meet somebody with a lot of charisma, they might be a real slime ball, but you might walk away from the conversation thinking that person was great.
Right. Okay.
And vice versa, somebody with low charisma, somebody, who, spitting everywhere and, half dressed and, hasn't had a haircut or a beard shave in
Yeah.
15 years, you might not trust that person immediately. And so their charisma might actually do them harm. Even if they are telling you the truth, maybe it's not something you're going to believe.
Okay. Well, I have another question that's just kind of related to like the pace of the game.
Okay.
So I know from my own personality and my experience playing video games where y- you're searching for clues and you're solving puzzles in order to finish the levels and do your battles and all that. I tend to focus on those games by trying to find everything. I tend to go through the levels very slowly and I look at everything and I try everything, and so it takes me a long time. And I know that there are other folks out there that when they start playing one of these games, they just kind of hit all the high points and try to get through the game pretty quickly. When you're thinking about a Dungeons and Dragons game like this, I mean, should you be going in just significant detail, looking at everything, trying to find everything, or is it usually faster paced where you don't have to
I
analyze everything?
I have a couple of different answers to that, and I hope all together they're satisfying. And so maybe I'll go breadth first, and then we could dive deep, and then we'll tie it all back together.
Okay.
At a high level, my couple of responses. One is, it depends on the game and your game master,
Mhm.
your dungeon master in the D&D case, on what kind of session they're trying to run. And then the second thing I'd say is that it depends on the other players as well. And so really it's kind of a social thing of, like, when we got together, what were we really hoping to do?
Okay.
And some games, maybe you're trapped in a mansion and it's a mystery and you have to solve one puzzle in one room to escape the next puzzle in the next room. And so every single thing needs, like, minute focus. And in some games, the most you'll do is you'll make sure you go down every path,
Okay.
recognizing that it's kind of a game of infinite potential.
Mhm.
That if you say, I want to search this desk, I might tell you, like, okay, cool, you open every drawer and there's literally nothing in every drawer. and I promise you there's nothing. Please stop looking. Let's go do something else.
Okay.
That's not very fun, but you might have a DM which is like, there's nothing there, move on.
Okay.
You might have a situation where you open the drawer and I start listing the items that are in it.
Mhm.
Well, the problem as a DM is if I start listing like every single item in it, I'm almost hinting that there's importance to it
Mhm.
because I'm enumerating all of these different things.
Okay.
And so, this is something I I think as a DM, if there's something interesting to be had, I'll give clues that there's something interesting to be had. If vice versa, if you tell me you want to search the writing desk and I know as a DM I don't really want anything in the writing desk, I might say something like, you find a bunch of writing paraphernalia like an inkwell and an ink pen and an ink fountain.
Mhm.
And you say, okay, cool, it's writing utensils, we can move on.
Mhm.
The last thing that I'll add to this is, let's say there was a secret compartment on the desk and you said you wanted to search the desk. I
Mhm.
might ask you what you're searching for. And if you said secret compartments, then I would just say, well, okay, roll an investigation check for me. And I'll let
Okay.
the dice decide whether you find that thing or not.
Okay.
And in general, if there's something extra, like maybe there's a view gold to be found or something like this, I might ask for some kind of check
Mhm.
just to determine whether I'm going to let you have this little bit of a bonus.
Okay.
But as a DM, my goal is to never let you get locked out of the game. In other words, you should never be worried that you're not going to find the key and then 2 sessions later you're going to be in a situation where you didn't have the key that you needed. Because as a DM, I'm going to take care of you in that way,
Okay.
typically.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay, I see a parallel with the video game there. You have certain keys you have to find to get to the next level, and you don't go until you have what you need, that kind of thing.
Yeah, except for as a DM, in the game, it's already scripted, it's already been written, and so that key is in a fixed location.
Mhm.
Maybe as a DM, if I realize like, okay, we moved past this place, maybe a guard happens to be walking by carrying the key on a platter, and all we have
Mm.
to do is take out the guard and we get the key on the platter
Okay.
because that's the freedom that we have to take control of it.
Mm.
And
Oh,
so kind of rolling it back, you were having this conversation and you asked kind of what does the wizard do in here?
mhm.
And kind of like me saying with the writing desk, I might ask you to roll an investigation to see
Mhm.
if you find that secret compartment. I'll
Okay.
ask you here to roll an insight check and then let's see what we learn from it.
Okay, so I roll my D20?
That's right.
Okay. And I got a 15,
Nice.
and then plus my plus 5, so I'm at 20.
You're at a 20 total. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's a great roll. As soon as you bring up the wizard and what the wizard's doing, you can see that the man is visibly uncomfortable and is kind of resisting. He's been giving you all these other details, like he told you he stole the key immediately, but you ask about the wizard, and all of a sudden his response is like, research. He does research in here.
Okay. What is that supposed to tell me? I'm drawing a blank at the moment.
Well, it's okay. The other thing I'll point out is we do still have the sleeping half elf, and also we can look around the room a little bit more. Actually, it might be a good thing to point out because you would have recognized this immediately.
Mhm.
We described the two cells already. Next to the two cells on the opposite wall from the door you came in is another door. And when you look around the room, you don't notice any other obvious doors. So the
Okay.
two entrances are the way you came and this new door nearby the cells.
Okay. Now, okay. If I don't feel like I can get any more information from this gentleman that I've been speaking with, the half elf I've been told is a lunatic crazy man. I might not necessarily want to wake him up. So I could either maybe investigate something in the room or just try that door.
You could try the door. The other thing, he is also in a cell, so
Uh-huh.
he doesn't have an ability. Well, at least he can't physically reach you.
He can, but what if I woke him up and he started screaming and drew attention and I'm trying to
That's a
be careful?
No, that's a great question. That's a good point. And so, yeah, you do have this door, and you said you wanted to try the door. I thought I heard.
Either that or if there was something in the room to investigate. I can't quite remember what all was in the room.
Absolutely. So you noticed there really is a writing table. I wasn't lying. Um, and in addition to the writing table, there's almost like an apothecary station. And
Okay.
so you notice like all kinds of like herbs and medicines, but then there's also like chemicals that you're not quite familiar with. They're not as obvious to you what they're there for.
Okay, so maybe I want to investigate the writing desk to see what kind of materials are there. Maybe I could get some kind of information about what the wizard is doing
Okay.
from what's in or on the desk.
I'll tell you, you notice a thin book and you open the book and it becomes pretty obvious to you that it is almost like schedule.
Okay.
And the schedule started, it appears to have started like 12 days ago.
Okay.
So in other words, it isn't like a year's worth of schedule, but it's actually a fairly recent book.
Okay. So I mean, can I say I want to read the entries and to find out what's
Uh,
on his schedule?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Um, so it has kind of comings and goings of like when folks have come in.
Mhm.
There are like various races written down. So like you see half elf, you see halfling, you see human, and kind of tally marks next to it.
Ooh, okay.
And then on each day there's kind of almost like a line separating.
Separating the days.
Well, separating the bar for individuals written into the journal. And so you might have like the tally marks that like 5 halflings came in, and then you would have somewhere further down a few more tick marks, somewhere further down a few more tick marks. Another investigation check. Or actually, make an
Okay.
investigation check. I don't think we've done that yet.
No, we haven't. Okay. So I'd like to make an investigation check. So I go ahead and roll my d20,
That's right.
and I rolled a 13 and I have a +1, so 14.
Okay. The way that you interpret it is that it almost looks like it's like transition period or some kind of, if there's 5 tick marks, then there's always 5 sets of 2 tick marks. And if there's 6 tick marks, there's always 6 sets of 2 tick marks. And so you're almost wondering if it's like a time of day for each of the folks who came in. And so you're wondering if this has to do with what the wizard's been doing, but it's not
Okay.
super clear.
Okay. So can I investigate further to see if there's anything else in the desk, any of the secret compartments like you
Yeah.
mentioned?
No,
Any
absolutely.
other uh-huh.
And so I'll tell you, basically everything else you find appears to be writing paraphernalia.
Okay. All right. So no hidden compartments. All right. So maybe I want to go over and check the door to see if it's unlocked.
Okay. How do you want to handle the door? Do you, if it is unlocked, do you want to open it? Do you just want to check the lock?
All right. I want to open it if I can,
Okay.
and slowly and carefully as not to make any noise.
All
Is
right.
that
Let's do it.
possible?
Let's do another stealth check. Let's see how this
Okay.
goes.
Stealth check. Okay. So I roll for that.
That's right.
Okay. I rolled a 20 and I have a +2.
A natural 20. Okay. So yeah, we call this a natural 20 because you actually rolled a 20. Plus 2 is 22. So yeah, you managed to open the door with no creaking, no jiggling, anything like this. And it is unlocked. So it just opens.
Okay.
And you see a hallway beyond.
Okay.
It's well lit, similar to the lighting in the previous room. And if you poke your head in, you can kind of see it extends down to the left, it extends down to the right, and so your room is kind of in the middle of it, almost like teed up, so to speak.
Hmm. Okay. So I need to make a decision to enter the hallway and move carefully to the left, searching for other doorways
Okay.
or, okay,
Okay.
something like
Uh,
that.
yeah, you can do that. That makes perfect sense to me. And so you enter the room. Let's go ahead and make another stealth check because you said you wanted to do it quietly.
Okay. So I'm going to roll. I have a 12 +2, so 14.
Okay. You feel like you're being reasonably quiet. As soon as you exit your room, you notice that there is a door, like not directly in front of where you were, but a little bit offset. And then as you kind of move down to your left, you notice that there is another door kind of far on the end on the same wall.
Okay. So I'm guessing that there's no windows, like,
No.
okay, so they're closed. So I want to carefully check the closest door to see if it is open, unlocked rather.
It is unlocked.
Okay. Do I do another stealth check to see if I can carefully enter that room and see what I can find in there?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I have a 10 +2, so I'm a 12. So at
Okay.
what point when you roll, if I know that 20s, the higher you get, the better. So at what point do you say, "Oh, gee, that's that's not so good."
Well, so if you think back, like when you rolled your 5 to come into the first room and you made your
Yeah,
big plop and it was super obvious to everybody that you were there, that
yeah.
that was a good example of not good enough. The other thing here is that the door magically opened all the way, and so there really wasn't a lot of sneakiness. And so
Mhm.
to a person who was awake in the room, they would notice, okay, the door just opened, and also for that person, they were used to it. So you had a lot of things working against you in that situation.
Okay.
Now I'll tell you kind of so behind the DM screen, so to speak.
Mhm. Mhm.
I have a number in my head. If you roll above a 10, I'm generally going to give you good stealth, like nothing awful is going to happen. If you'd rolled below a 5, something would happen to cause like a cacophony that the one you were afraid of a moment ago. And then yeah, anything higher, I'm really going to consider how quiet it was. And so in this case, you rolled a reasonable, but it wasn't like above 15.
Mhm.
When you open the door opens quietly, and you
Mhm.
peek inside, and there is a skeleton staring back at you.
Okay, well, I'll try to ignore the skeleton and maybe look a little further around the room.
The skeleton begins to approach you.
Oh, okay. I think my natural instinct would be to back out of the room and close the door.
Okay. All right, let's do that. So you back out of the room and you close the door.
Okay.
Do you like run back to the other room? Do you stay where you are but with the door closed?
I think yeah, I would be standing there for just a minute with my heart pounding and thinking, "Okay, I don't wanna be in there. Let's try the other door."
Okay. And so we're going to go back or we're going to go all the way down the hall to this door.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I feel like the skeleton thing is important, but I don't wanna be in there with it.
Wait, it can be important on the other side of the wall, right?
Right.
Well, and so I do want to be clear, like there in this case you wait a little bit of time. The skeleton does not come back out, like doesn't, you don't hear anything banging on the wall, clawing on the wall or anything like this.
Mhm.
So it doesn't appear to be chasing you.
Oh, good. Big relief.
But I do want to point out like that's a potential that could happen. And in fact, in most of the time if you encounter like a monster,
Mhm.
that monster likely is going to try to attack you.
Okay.
And a lot of times a door is not going to get in the way.
Okay. So, phew, all right, I'm good. I'm gonna continue
Okay.
down the hall.
Okay. And how do you do this?
As in, I walk quietly down the hall.
Okay, cool. And we'll say,
Okay.
okay, so you're able to walk.
Keeping to the as close to the wall as I can, like in a shadow or something like that.
Okay, cool. Absolutely. So you get down to the end and you have approached another door.
Mhm. Okay,
Well,
again.
all right. So we're gonna open the door. When you open the door, you immediately see that you've entered into another hallway. This time running kind of 90 degrees parallel to the right.
Okay.
Again, you notice that there's a door immediately next to you on your left.
Okay.
And you could see that there's another door kind of a little further down as well.
It sounds like I'm gonna be doing a lot of door checking. So I would quietly continue on my way to the first door and try to open
Okay.
the door. Okay.
All right. Let's roll a stealth check.
Okay. 14 plus 2,
Okay.
16.
No, you nailed it. Nothing catastrophic happened. So you do get the door open, and you see in the far corner of the room, it is lit. The room is lit. That is, so you can see in the far corner of the room. There's some body standing facing a wall.
Okay. Wait, did you say the room is fairly well lit?
It's as well lit as like the hallway that you're in now.
Okay, and there's somebody facing the wall.
Yes.
Okay, is there anything else in the room?
As far as you could tell, it's kind of the muck floor, a stone wall.
All right, so I could take a risk and try and speak with this person?
If you would like.
Okay, I'll take a chance.
Okay, cool. What do you say?
Goodness. Excuse me. Something to
Okay.
start with. Get
And
their attention.
so you hear kind of and the creature starts to turn towards you, and it appears to be a zombie,
Okay.
and it is lurching towards you.
Mhm.
What do you want to
Okay.
do?
Okay. Well, I mean, my first thought is produce a flame and see if it would kind of scare it back a little bit.
Okay. So if you want to take an action,
Okay.
we can roll initiative and we can start combat.
Uh-huh. Am I totally off base, or is that something that you
I don't think the fire is going to scare it away. And
okay.
actually, probably yeah, I might ask you to make like a history or a survival check. But I think honestly, that's kind of silly on my part, so I'm going to take that back. Your character would know, as somebody who really hates the undead, that the undead are probably not going to be turned away by like a flame. There are certain spells that like clerics have that will
Uh-huh.
make undead flee, make them run away.
Okay.
But that's not something that you have available to you.
Okay, so I just back out of the room again? Quickly back out of the room?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go that route.
Okay. Sounds good.
So
All right.
I've already found two things in this place that I'm in that are unnatural, correct?
Yes. And it doesn't make you happy.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna back out of the room and hope this guy's not gonna follow me and try to eat me.
Okay. So in this case, you do like there's a little bit of like bumping into the door that you hear. It doesn't sound like you're not worried the door is going to fall off, but there is definitely
Mhm.
like a, hunk, hunk, hunk.
Okay, so I'm gonna quickly make my way down the hall to the next door.
Okay.
All right, and I'm going to try to quietly open the next door.
And you open the door, and behind door number 2 is another skeleton.
And does the skeleton get up?
It is standing when you enter the room.
Okay.
So it is already animated and ready to party.
All right. Well, gosh, if I'm trying to get more information here, maybe I want to try and look around the room before it gets to me.
Do you want to try this?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So there isn't anything obvious, but in the time that you are trying to look, the
Hmm.
skeleton rushes you. So we are going to roll initiative and we're going to have combat.
Okay. Better with the skeleton than the zombie.
that's
Okay.
that's what I always say.
All right. So what do I do now? I know I'm going to roll something.
To figure out who's going to go first, we roll initiative, and so you have at the top middle of your character sheet, you have an initiative bonus, which I see is +2.
Hmm.
And so you'll roll a d20, and I'm going to roll a d20.
Okay.
All right. What'd you roll?
20.
God, okay, a natural 20. Awesome, awesome. All right, so you are going to go first in this combat. So you see the skeleton rushing towards you, and you recognize he's probably not coming in for a hug.
Uh-huh.
So what do you want to do? And the way this goes, so you have on your turn, you can do an action, a bonus action, and you can move up to your speed.
Okay.
The skeleton is starting about 10 feet from you.
Hmm.
And so if you want to do something like using your scimitar, you could
Yes.
approach the skeleton. So you could kind of rush in to meet it, and then you could attack.
Okay.
If you do that, you're kind of locked in melee combat, so to speak. In other words, you kind of side by side combat, and it makes it harder to do things that are ranged.
Okay.
And then there's this idea that if you move away, there could be a penalty with that. And if you choose to do that, we'll kind of we'll dive into that in a moment. So do
Okay.
you want to approach and try to do a melee attack kind of next
Yeah.
to him?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you move to him, and so you're standing right next to him. Tell me what it looks like when you try to hit him with your scimitar.
Okay. I'm supposed to describe like a movement that
Well, I'll tell you what. If it would be fun to you, you can. If not, you can
okay.
just say, "I'm going to attack with a scimitar," and then we'll roll our d20 and we'll see if it hits.
Well, if she Audrey rushes up and lifts her scimitar and and okay, I'm trying to think of words to use. All right, let's go your route. I'm not thinking of any words.
No, no, that's great. Yeah, so let's roll a d20 and we'll see what hits.
Okay.
And I'll also say I kind of did that backwards. Usually, which is like, let's figure out if it hits or not, and then depending on if it hits, we'll talk about what that looked like. Um,
Okay. All right,
but
so
we're
I'm
having
rolling
fun.
D20. Oh man, I rolled a 7, but I have a +4.
Okay, so that's an 11 total.
Okay.
So that will miss the skeleton,
Okay.
and now it is the skeleton's turn.
Okay. And do I do an action then? Like, cause I know I have a shield. Right. All right.
We can say that the shield is equipped because you have been walking around in a dungeon, and what that does for you is it basically raises your armor class.
Okay.
And so it makes it harder for the skeleton to hit you. All
Okay.
right. So, you took your try with your scimitar. The skeleton is carrying like a short, like rusty sword. And so it's going to try to attack you with it.
Okay.
All right. So it rolled a 12, which does not hit your armor class. So it misses you back.
Oh,
And
good.
it is now your turn.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take another swipe with my scimitar. So I go ahead and roll.
Yep.
All right. 18 plus 4 or 22.
Okay. That will hit. So you get to roll. You have your 1d6 plus 2 for damage.
Okay. So I roll my 6. Oh, I have a 1.
Okay. And then plus 2 is 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
So do we know how strong, I don't know if these are the right words, a skeleton would be? I mean, how much damage would I have to do to?
So that's meant to be kind of a mystery.
Okay.
What's hard to put it? Like I typically I won't put a stat block, or I won't, hit points is kind of how much damage you need to do. As soon as you do enough damage to reduce the hit points to 0, a creature will typically die.
Mhm.
As you face something more and more often, let's face it, like the first time you fight something all the way through, if you're keeping track of it, you get a pretty good feeling for how much damage something can take.
Okay.
The monsters actually have variable health. So something might say that it has like 7 health, which is the equivalent of like, 2d8 plus 3 or something like this.
Okay.
I think my math is wrong there, maybe 2d6 plus 3, something like this. But the idea being that it actually might be on the lower end or the higher end, or your DM, given the situation, might decide, okay, look, I actually want to do this at a reduced. What is typical is I might tell you that something looks pretty hurt,
Mhm.
or you might ask and I might answer the question. So I won't tell you something's almost dead, but I'll kind of give you the clue that like you are actually having impact. Vice versa. Let's say you walked into a fight you had no business being in,
Mhm.
and there wasn't really an opportunity to kind of talk you out of it ahead of time. I might tell you like, yeah, you hit. It really didn't look like it even noticed. It didn't look like it cared.
Okay.
But in this situation, it's neither of those. It does not look almost dead, but you heard it.
Okay. So then does it continue to attack me?
It does. It
So it
will.
gets it. Okay. Got it.
So it is going to try to hit again.
Okay.
Okay. So it rolled a. Oh, math is hard. Math is not hard, but a 21,
Okay.
which is enough to hit your armor class. It's bigger than your armor class. So it is now gonna roll for damage.
Okay.
Okay. And it does 3 damage.
Okay.
So up at the top, you have this current hit points of 10. So you could do 10 minus 3.
Wait, where's up at the top?
In the middle, below your armor
Oh,
class, that hit point
okay.
maximum.
Okay. So -3, so I'm at 7 now.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So
Okay.
I'm still alive and kicking though.
Well, and
So,
so let's look at what you have available to you. I think attacking with your scimitar is fine, but I do want to review in your spells. You have 1 first level spell still available. You have Thunder Wave, which deals some damage and also has a likelihood of pushing a creature away from you.
mhm.
And then you also have Cure Wounds, which you could use to heal yourself. And then finally, we can always plan to take a short rest
Mhm.
after combat, in which case you get to use your hit dice to recover a bit of health as well.
Okay, so if you have, you can use cure wounds one time. Would you look at to see, okay, well, I still have 7 points left. Let me, I mean, if you use cure wounds, does it take you back up to 100%, back up to
Well,
10?
so Cure Wounds would almost certainly, yeah, okay, because you're a Wisdom caster, Cure Wounds would heal you up to full health, but it would actually be a waste right now.
Okay. So that's what I was thinking. I would want to fight a little further and then cure wounds if my number goes down below 7.
That's right. But then the other half of it is because we can take a short rest, we could actually use that to heal after too.
Okay.
So the biggest risk would be if the skeleton got very lucky and did a lot of damage, you
Mhm.
could be in some danger.
Okay. So at this point, I mean, do you just say, okay, I just need to get out of here?
It could be a good idea. And
Okay.
it is your turn. So if you wanted to try to run away because you're right next to them,
Mhm.
the skeleton will get what we call an attack of opportunity, and so it
Okay.
will try to attack you one more time as you flee. But
Okay.
certainly, if whether you get hit or not, you could try to shut the door and hope that the creature doesn't pursue.
Okay. So it sounds like I have like 3 options or so. So I could attack again. I could use a thunder wave to kinda knock him back and give me a chance to get out of the room, or I could just run.
That's right.
Okay.
I think those are all good options.
Okay. And those are my only options, I'm guessing
Um, yeah, because we talked through the cure wounds probably doesn't make sense right now.
right now. Okay. But if I use my thunder wave, I won't be able to do cure wounds. But if I use the thunder wave and I get out of there, then I could rest and heal.
That's right. But if we take a short rest, and so you wouldn't get any spell slots back, but you could heal. That's right.
Okay. Oh my. All right. Can I just blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's use the thunder wave
Okay, cool.
and get out of there. Okay.
All right. So for Thunder Wave, I have to make a Constitution saving throw. And so at the top of your spell sheet,
Mm.
there's a larger number.
The spell save
That's right.
a 13. Okay.
Okay. And so what that means is the skeleton will have to make a Constitution saving throw of 13.
Okay.
And then the good news with Thunder Wave is even if they fail, they still take half the damage.
Okay.
All right. So let's make that happen. All right. He rolled a 10, so he fails the save.
Okay.
And so you get to roll 2d8. So you could roll your d8 twice and then tell me that number.
18 and
Oh,
16. Oh, wait.
a d8. Sorry. The
Oh,
eight-sided
sorry.
dice. No, it's okay.
3
Okay.
and 8. 11.
Okay, so that is 11 damage total.
Okay.
The skeleton crumples before your eyes and flies off and shatters against the wall.
Okay. Well, he's not a threat anymore. Maybe I could look around the room at this point and see if there's anything.
Okay. You look around the room, you find bones, certainly.
Uh-huh.
You find tattered bits of like cloth and this sort of thing, some of it wrapped around the skeleton.
Mhm.
And so you think it's almost the clothes of them. And then the room is very bare other than that. It's kind of the same mucky base and the same stone wall.
Okay. Well, that's not going to help. So I guess I exit the room and continue down the hallway to check the next door. Wasn't there
Okay.
one more door?
There is one more door. And
Okay.
so you get down there and you get the door open, and it almost opens up as if it's like a foyer. Like
Mhm.
there's a small bit of a chamber, and then, you know, 10 feet down there's one more singular door.
Okay. So I'm gonna enter and go on to that next door very quietly.
Okay. And do you open it?
I try to open it very quietly, yes, stealthily.
Yeah. Okay. So let's roll a stealth check.
Okay. 19.
Okay, that's great. So you get the door open. There is another skeleton. The skeleton is not facing towards you, and so you're able to get a good look. The clothing seems to be like a rustic tunic. You could tell that the tunic is not like super old. There's still
Mhm.
some hair attached to the skull. And in the skeleton's hand, as opposed to the other skeleton you just fought, is a very beautiful dagger.
Mhm.
It almost catches the light and kind of reflects it about the room.
All right. So is there some way to investigate further without attracting the attention of the skeleton?
Well, so what would you like to do? Do you want to look around the room and see what you can see, or are you more interested in something about the skeleton?
Well, I would be curious as to whether it would be possible to communicate with the skeleton. Is that a thing?
You could try to talk to the skeleton, but you know that they're probably going to tend to be hostile.
Okay, so I would want to try to peek around the room without attracting the attention of the skeleton.
Okay. So you do look around the room, and it's kind of the same as what you've been seeing. Like it's kind of the bare floor, stone walls, nothing super exciting.
Okay, so all I've learned so far from looking in these rooms, I've learned that There are skeletons that are animated and moving around and hostile. And there's a hostile, what did we call the other guy?
The zombie in one
A
of the rooms.
zombie. Right. So, all right. Well, I think I've come to the end of the hallway on this end, haven't I?
You have,
So
absolutely.
I want to quietly exit this room
Okay.
and go back down the hallway. And then it was the T where I came out of the original room, I'm going to go continue on that way.
Okay. So as you're walking by the door, you hear in Druidic,
Hmm.
131 in a voice that you're not sure that you've heard before.
Okay. Is this the door from the room that I had originally come out of?
It is.
Okay. So as I approach the door and I hear those 11131 words being spoken, I want to peek into the room and see who's speaking in
Okay.
Druidic. Okay.
So when you pop your head in the room, it's obvious to you that it is the half elf
Okay.
that was asleep in the corner. He's now mumbling to himself in Druidic.
Okay. So I can approach him and try to communicate with the half elf.
That's right. And as a druid, you speak Druidic, so it's
Okay.
good fortune.
Okay. All right. Well, is this where I would start by, wait a minute, what was the word? Insight for the conversation?
No, I think you would just have the conversation, but then if there's something that maybe seems off, or if you're not sure if you're hearing the truth about something, that's a good place to make an inside check.
Okay. So I would approach and say hello to the half elf and
Okay.
say, "Who are you?"
And you're gonna do this in Druidic or Common or
Well, I speak Druid,
no.
so I would say it in Druidic.
Awesome. Okay. So you approach and you say hello, and as soon as he hears the word, he immediately kind of looks up, and still just 131, 131, 131, but is
Okay.
obviously paying attention to you.
Okay. So I'm going to ask him about, who he is and what he's doing there to see if I could get any information that way, but I'm guessing he's going to just continue.
Okay. So that seems right. And so what would your instinct is to kind of maybe pry more information, like
Mhm.
who are you? What are you doing here?
Mhm.
Okay. So what I'll say is let's make a persuasion check.
Okay.
And the idea is you're trying to convince this person they should like calm down, open up, talk to you, this sort of thing.
Unfortunately, I'm not very good at that apparently according to my skill set.
Yeah.
So I've got
Real
to roll a high number, right?
Yeah, no, that's the plan always.
Okay.
Yeah. Real
So go
life,
ahead.
very charismatic. Andre, not so charismatic.
Not so charismatic, no. Okay, I'm gonna roll the D20.
That's right.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. It's a 6 or a 9.
Is there an underline?
No, no
Uh
under is there more than one 6 on this die? Because there's another number right next to it that looks the same.
do either of them have underlines on them?
One of them may have a teeny tiny dot under it, and it's not the one I rolled. So it looks like I
Uh
got a 9.
I
Oh,
think
I
that's right.
see. There's a itty bitty teeny tiny dot if I look really closely. So, okay, it's a 9.
Okay, awesome. But 9 minus 1 is an 8.
Uh-huh.
And so unfortunately what you hear is, 1 1 3 1 1 1 3 1. There's other things that we could try, so let's look at our skills. You can try to intimidate, kind of like a snap out of it sort of thing.
Mhm.
You could try to do a medicine check to see if there's something that might help.
That caught my attention because when I look at my strengths or whatever, I have insight, medicine, nature, and perception. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, no, it's perfect. Absolutely.
Uh,
And so yeah, let's roll a medicine check, and then we'll, depending on how it goes, we'll talk through it.
okay. So D20. I rolled a 3. And 3 plus 5
Okay.
is only 8.
So let's take a step back. At the very beginning of this session, I said that I was giving you inspiration because I really liked the fact that you were trying to do something good and kind of wholesome to your character. So the idea of inspiration is that you get to roll with advantage, which means you get to roll 2 dice
Okay.
and then take the higher of the 2 numbers.
Okay, so I get another roll.
Well, and so I'll be clear. Typically, with advantage, you declare you're going to use your inspiration up front, and then you roll the 2 dice at the same time. It is a fairly common like house rule that folks will just say re-roll the die, and I'm going to say let's re-roll the die. Let's see what we get.
Okay. So in the case when you roll 2 dice at the same time, would they be 2 d20s?
They'd be 2 d20s, or you could roll a d20 twice,
Okay.
but ahead of time you declared I'm rolling with advantage.
Okay. Oh, I got a 20.
Nice. Okay, so natural 20. Okay. So you know that this person is in some kind of shock. It's fairly obvious to you
Mhm.
because you also noticed on the apothecary's desk earlier that there's a particular herb that, if you burn it, it has quite a calming effect.
Mhm.
And so you might be able to use that if only you know how to create a flame out of thin air.
Oh, I do. Yes,
Okay.
I'm going to produce a flame.
Okay. All right. And that's a free action. You just get to do that. And so, yeah, talk to me about what you do.
Okay. Oh my word. So as far as like preparing what I'm going to prepare for medicine for this
Yeah,
half elf. So I produce a flame and then I crumple some herbs in a dish that I find on the
absolutely.
desk and I heat the herbs and I find water and I mix the herbs into water to form a type of tea, as in, I'm my last name being tea.
Absolutely.
All
Perfect.
right, so I
Perfect.
make a tea for this poor half elf.
Awesome. Okay. And the scent of it is just like wafting through the room as you're making this. The other fella is like, "Oh, you're making a cup of tea. Or can you make two? Like I would love that." But unfortunately, you used all the herb that you found in this tea that you're hoping to heal. So you immediately feel calm. You feel a lot better. And the person's eyes the half elf's eyes start to calm a bit, and you kind of have the 1 1 3 1. Is that for me?
Yes, it is for you. So can I offer it to him to drink, or is this just a smelling thing?
No, you could offer it to him to drink. You made
Okay,
a
there
tea.
we
Let's
go.
see how it goes.
Yeah.
And your medicine check tells you it's perfectly safe to drink. Nothing bad's gonna happen.
Okay.
So he sips it and he says, "Who are you? Why are you here?"
Okay. So I tell him that I'm Andre Tea Leaf, and I have been thrown into this prison, but I'm searching. Do I just openly say what my goal is? That I'm searching for evidence
Yeah, if
of
you want to, that's perfectly fine.
unnatural activity?
Uh,
Okay, I do
well,
that.
I should say you probably found a lot of it. Not that it would convince anybody above ground what's happening here.
Okay.
I might be able to help you.
Okay. So would I want to do anything where I'm checking to see if he's telling me the truth? I mean, is that
Insight. It would make sense to do an insight check here. Absolutely.
okay? Okay, so I'm doing insight check. I rolled a 9 plus I have a 5.
Okay. He seems sincere in what he's saying.
Okay. So I
So
ask
yeah,
him, can he help me? Can he show me?
I need. I can help you. If I'm going to help you, I need you to get something for me.
Okay. What do you need?
If you go to room 131,
Okay.
you'll find a skeleton with a dagger.
Okay. And what can I get from the skeleton with the dagger? What is it you need?
The dagger, not the skeleton. Leave the skeleton. Only bring the dagger.
Okay. So the skeleton with the dagger is not the skeleton I destroyed. So, all right, I make a deal with this half elf that I'm going to get what he needs so that he can help me find the evidence I need. So, I'm going to
And so he looks at you and he says, "You look a little rough though. Why don't you rest for a moment, relax
okay.
for a second before you go do this?" Which is my way of hinting. Let's take a short rest.
Okay.
When you take a short rest, you get to use as many hit dice up to as many hit dice as you have available. Because you're a level 1 character, you actually have 1 hit dice, so you can roll a d8,
Okay.
and then so what'd you roll?
6.
Okay, and then your Constitution is 2, so you actually can add 8, which is going to get you up to your maximum hit points of 10.
Oh, okay. So I'm
Okay,
back
and
up
so
to 10.
you're back at 10 and you're good to go.
Okay, so I'm rested. I'm ready to go ahead and exit the room, move to the left down the hall, all the way to the last door, over,
That's right.
to
And
the
so you enter
skeleton.
the first door, and then you walk down 3 doors, and then you take the first door. So 131, like you said. And there's the same skeleton that you saw a moment ago,
Okay.
being all spooky, doing skeleton stuff.
Okay, so now that I've had a rest, do I have my spells available to me?
You don't. The only thing you have which can deal damage is produce flame. You can
Mm-hmm.
actually produce the flame and then hurl it
Mm-hmm.
at a creature, and you can do that at range.
Mm-hmm.
And then in melee, you can attack with your scimitar.
But let's do the produce flame. Let's attack with the flame first.
Okay. And so what we'll do is let's say you go, you kick the door open. We're gonna have some combat, so we'll roll initiative the same way we did the first time, and then we'll then kind of get into the combat. So
Okay.
let's roll a d20, and you get to add +2 for your initiative bonus.
I rolled a 3, so I have a 5.
Okay, the skeleton won this round.
Okay.
And so the skeleton is going to approach you
Mm-hmm.
and is going to try to hit you with the dagger.
Okay.
All right. And the skeleton misses.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yay.
So it is your turn.
Okay.
Because the skeleton got to attack first, the skeleton approached you. So now they're in melee range. So you could do something like your produce flame and try to attack with it.
Mhm.
But because you're standing next to them, you actually would attack with disadvantage. So
Okay.
it's more advantageous to try to use your scimitar in this situation than it would be to do.
Okay. I will do that.
Okay.
So I roll the D20
That's right.
and got a 4
Okay. That's
plus
no
a
good.
4. Yeah.
And actually, I should have offered this to you a second ago, so I apologize. Well, tell you what, is there anything else you want to do in your turn? If not, we'll have the skeleton, and then I'll offer something you might try.
You can do more than one move on your turn?
You have an action, you have a bonus action, and you can move. And so you attacked. You
Mm-hmm.
could walk away, but you'd give an opportunity attack,
Mm-hmm.
and then next turn the skeleton would just approach you anyway.
Okay.
But at the beginning of your next turn, if you wanted to try to like get out of range and then use your ranged attack, you could try this.
Okay. That sounds yeah, let's do that.
And so we'll let the skeleton take his turn, and then next turn we'll kind of take that sequence of actions.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So the skeleton is going to attack.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and the skeleton misses. Yeah. Pop, 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 pop. Yeah. 10 total, which misses. All right. So it is your turn again.
Okay.
You can try to walk away.
Yeah, let's do that. I want to get enough range in there so that I can throw a flame.
Yep. Good. All right. So he's going to make his opportunity attack. He misses again. He's going to hit one of these days. I promise.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. And so you can move up to 25 feet away.
Okay.
All right. And so you basically, if you go to the end of that hall
Mm-hmm.
where you're looking through both doors that you've left open so it could pursue you,
Mm-hmm.
you would be able to see it,
Okay.
and you'd be able to produce your flame and attack with it. That's
Okay.
what we want to do.
Yep, that's what we want to do. So
Awesome.
I'm gonna roll a good number this time. I have a 15, and then I
Nice.
get a attack bonus. Is it?
Which is +5 for your spell.
Oh, for my yeah. Okay, so I'm at 20.
Okay. And so that hits. So you get to roll D8.
Okay. 5.
5. Okay. So you deal 5 damage.
Okay.
The skeleton is now going to approach you
Mm-hmm.
and kind of gets through the first door and then pulls out a bow strapped to the back and is going to try to shoot you with a bow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. That is going to hit
Okay.
and deals 4 damage.
So I'm at 6 now.
That's right.
All right.
All right.
So
Now your turn.
can I produce flame again and
You
attack
can.
with flame? Okay, I want to do that. So I rolled a D20. I got a 9 plus a 5, puts me at 14.
That's enough to hit.
Okay.
So you
And
get
then
to
I
roll your
rolled a
D8
D8.
again.
Got it. Okay. A 1.
A 1. Okay. All right. So you deal the 1 damage.
Okay.
The skeleton is now going to try to attack with a bow again.
Okay.
All right. Misses this time. Your turn.
Okay. 14 plus a 5, I'm at 19. I
That
hit him.
hits. Roll your
Okay.
d8.
7.
7. Okay. All right. So the flame kind of hits in the chest, and almost the skeleton seems to like cave in and then just crumple to the ground with its hand still wrapped around the dagger.
Okay. So I want to carefully approach the skeleton to see if I can get the dagger away.
Okay. And you easily pull the dagger out.
Okay. And then I take it and I return to the half elf with the dagger. Am
Okay.
I gonna just hand over a dagger to the half elf?
I mean, that's up to you. Uh, so when you walk in the room, do you walk out kind of with the dagger in your hand, or have you put it away?
I'm gonna hold the dagger in my hand for protection. Can I do that? Or I
Yeah,
mean,
like you could wield it basically.
yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
you walk in almost wielding the dagger,
Uh-huh.
and when the skeleton, when the half elf, who is not a skeleton, just a regular old half elf,
Uh-huh.
sees the dagger in your hand, kind of falls to his knees at the bar and is or at the bars of the cell and is holding the bars of the cell and kind of starts openly weeping. And so is it finished? Is he dead?
Yes. I didn't check to see. Did we say he was not dead? He was almost dead?
No, he was you totally killed it. You were
Oh,
confident
okay.
that is a dead skeleton.
Okay.
But I mean, he's obvious. He was concerned that this skeleton was a skeleton and was an animated skeleton because he
Mhm.
prefers his skeletons unanimated, as it were. So is he really dead? Truly,
Yes, the skeleton will no longer hurt you.
I wasn't worried about hurting. It was
Oh,
that skeleton used to be my friend, and I I came here to rescue him because he was thrown in prison for nothing. He didn't do anything wrong. They just took him, and I thought that I could come and I could save him. And the the wizard showed me what had happened to him, and I knew that it was him because that is his dagger.
mhm.
And I couldn't bear to leave here, or I I had to know that he was okay. But I think I have something that will help you. And he reaches into his coat, kind of the smock that he has wrapped around him, so to speak.
Mm,
And he pulls out a book that looks a lot like the book that you were looking at on the desk.
okay.
And he says, this is 2 years of history of what this necromancer has been doing here.
Okay. So I have the if he hands it to me, I have the evidence, or Andre has the evidence that she needs to show that this has been going on, but can't possibly just leave with it and leave that half elf stuck in prison.
That would be a kind thing for you to try to alleviate. You also, do you know how to get out of the prison?
At this point, no, I don't, because there's really no way to go back up through that door that I came in with. So I then ask, do you know the way out? And could we, like the half elf help to escape? Okay.
Yeah, and so you ask that question, and he starts flipping through and flipping through, and he finds a map with the doors labeled, and you could see where you've already gone to the 131.
Hmm.
There's another, it appears through a sequence of doors that there's actually an exit, which is clearly labeled in the journal of the necromancer. And so
Okay.
he's known a way out, but he's locked in a cell currently.
Okay. Now, does the key from the first guy open both cell doors, or did you tell me only?
Well, he said he didn't know because he had never tried it on anything
Okay.
else.
So then I
But
speak.
he's heard you two jibber jabbering in Druidic, and has no clue. He thinks you're both crazy at this point, honestly. But yeah. Um, and so, what do you want to do?
I would then approach him and say, that I know the way out.
A way
I
out?
mhm,
Is that
and
what
that
you two have been jibber jabbering about?
yes, we have the way out. What we need is the key to open the cell door. Would would you like to attempt to get out with us?
I I think I would. Would you please stand back for me?
Okay.
Actually, would you please hand me that dagger?
Okay, I'm suspicious. Okay. Do I have a tool here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can roll. And let's see. I think an insight check makes sense here.
Okay. So I'm going to roll a d20. I rolled a 6 plus 5, so 11.
Okay. So with that inside check, he's asking for the dagger. It seems like he might consider using it. Like, it doesn't seem to be a complete bluff.
Okay.
But it isn't out of a place of malice, more as like he seems concerned about his well-being.
Oh, okay.
So can if you give me the dagger and you stand back, I will
Mhm.
unlock my cell. I will unlock your friend's cell, and then you
Mhm.
can lead us out of here.
Okay. So I agree to that. I hand him the dagger.
Okay. All right. And so you step back and he unlocks his cell, and he kind of is looking at you, but aiming the dagger at the other person, walks over and he tries the key in the cell,
Mhm.
and it sticks. So you see him try it a little bit more, and you hear a satisfying
Okay.
and the cell door opens, and the elf walks out, and the half elf says in common, so the man can actually understand, when we leave here, I'll be needing that dagger back.
Okay.
So,
My turn?
yeah.
Okay. Or was there more that I needed to hear?
No. So you've seen the map,
Okay.
and you are able to follow it pretty easily. And so you
Okay.
go through each door, one in succession after the other.
Mhm.
And what you find in the room where it says that there's an exit is actually kind of a cave-in sort of thing, but you can see daylight leaking through,
Mhm.
and you're very easily able to climb out of it
Okay.
and help your friends out.
Okay.
The half elf hands the dagger back to, excuse me, the man hands the half. Well, the man hands the half elf to the dagger. Perfect. Hands the dagger back to the half elf
Uh-huh.
and tells you, if you really want to cause some trouble, I could bring you to somebody who would love to see the evidence that you've compiled. Because I do believe that the king does not love necromancy. And I always heard the wizard complaining about this particular person.
Okay. So I would say, okay, take me to
Awesome.
the
Okay,
person.
so
Okay.
that's perfect. So you and the half elf and this person go to like a local baron, and you present all the evidence, which is found very convincing. And it's not, the public is never told exactly what happened, other than nobody ever sees the court wizard ever again.
Mm.
And so
Okay.
you feel quite confident that you have rid this little part of the world of an evil necromancer. Congratulations.
Awesome. All right. So that's what it looks like to play.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. Okay. I imagine it gets a little easier with time when you you get used to what kind of spells or tools that
Well,
you have, what kind of skills you have.
it's fun because it does get easier, and the mechanisms get easier, right? Like knowing when to make a skill check and when to look at your spell list and this sort of thing. I think these things get easier. On the other hand, as you level up, more options become available. So like one of the coolest druid skills, for instance, is turning into an animal.
Mhm.
And that's not
Oh,
something that's available to you at this level.
right. Yeah. Okay. I
Um,
remember talking to Tyler about that. Yeah.
and so that's a good example of like, it's a little bit of additional complexity, but because the character kind of tends to get more complex as you level up, you as a player are gaining experience while the character's also gaining experience. And so in a way, you kind of level up together, so to speak.
That is neat. Okay. I'm looking forward to doing more of this. Yeah.
Awesome. No,
Thank
that's
you.
that's that's the best review you could give. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, awesome. Well, I've appreciated it. I've had a good time. For folks listening at home, I hope you've enjoyed this as well. If you have any questions or comments, please write in to podcast at RPGBOT.net, or put something out on Twitter at RPGBOT.Net. Jody, thank you very much for your time. I've enjoyed this. This has actually been really a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun putting together the adventure, thinking about kind of how would a druid solve some of these problems. And so that was really enjoyable to me. And yeah, I think we're going to have one more session where we're all going to get together and kind of talk about the full path through. And so I look forward to talking to you there as well.
All right. Well, thank you. I enjoyed it. And I see it takes a lot of creativity to create the situation. I think that's pretty awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Welcome to the RPGBOT.Podcast. I'm Randall James, your interactive instructor, and with me is Tyler Kamstra
Hi, everybody.
and Random Pal.
Howdy.
And our special guest, Jody.
Hi.
All right, Tyler, what are we doing tonight?
Well, today we're wrapping up our four-part series on how to play Dungeons and Dragons, which generally people's first RPG. We have our special guest Jody here, who was with us through all three of the previous episodes, and we're going to we're going to wrap things up, answer some questions, discuss Jody's experiences, and maybe answer some other questions that new players might have the first time they get into the game.
All right, no, that sounds perfect. And just to recap, so we did a session with Random and Jody, where Random talked about what tabletop gaming is, and in particular, kind of what D&D is, generally what to expect. Tyler, you did a session with Jody where you worked through building a character that would be exciting for Jody. And then the third episode, I played a quick one-shot with Jody, and she successfully didn't die, and I think that was great. And yeah, we got all the way through. And now we're here, and we want to talk through, yeah, exactly that. Jody, what were your thoughts? And so I guess we'll open with that. Hey, Jody, what were your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I enjoyed all 3 episodes. Very informative, and then the game was really fun. I was telling Tyler a few weeks ago that my perception of what D&D was changed a little bit as I went through the process. In particular, I had talked to Random about the idea that I had played a video game years and years and years and years ago. And I kind of thought that it might be something like that. And it was a little bit. But I still had this idea in mind that it was, while not like a regular board game where you have a board and you put a marker on one side of the board and everybody's taking turns trying to get to the other side the quickest. I knew it wasn't like that, but I still kind of had it in mind that it might be something like, well, everybody kind of creates a character. When you go into the game, I still had the thought that everybody was kind of just trying to get through it on their own. Like everybody was there together, but everyone came out the other side of the game independently. And it wasn't until I talked to Random that I realized, when he talked about going into battle and that everyone would have a turn in the battle, that, wow, you really are doing this together as a team. And then that made me think about some of the stuff that Tyler and I had talked about before doing this, where I said, well, gee, here I am. I'm not a teenager anymore. I'm way beyond that. If I learn to play this game, what am I going to do with it? What young group of people is going to want me tagging along with their game? And Tyler said, you know what? People of all ages play it. It doesn't matter. And then when I went through this process and I realized that you were creating characters and they're working together and you're solving problems and you're doing this together, that it truly could be for people with diverse backgrounds or diverse ages. And it didn't have to be a group of people who were already friends that sat down to play the game. It could be people who didn't necessarily know each other. And through this problem solving and working together, that you could form the bonds and that you could continue on with that. So that's what I kind of came to think of as we went through at least the first 2 episodes, and then the third one was the chance to play, which was really fun.
No, that's great. And I think what you're hitting on is perfect. Like we can link some resources in the show notes, but there's a lot of ways to find a game to play in, whether you want to go somewhere and physically play, whether you want to get online and play with people, kind of like how we did together. There's a lot of amazing options. And, I feel like every year those options get better and better as technology advances.
That was actually one of the questions I had, because I had heard that there might be ways to connect with people and do this, but I wondered, what does that look like? I mean, I kind of pictured something like Match.com, do they ask you questions when you try to, is there a place you can go and they ask you what kind of game are you looking for, or what, that kind of stuff, so that you're put with someone that you'd be comfortable playing with?
Yeah, there's a lot of options, starting from like your old school analog options. If you just know people who are playing, you might say, hey, I'm interested in playing. Do you have a group going right now? If you have a bunch of other new people who want to play for the first time, it's totally fine to organize a group of your friends. Like, call up your friends, say, hey, have you heard about this thing called Dungeons and Dragons? We're going to learn to play together. It's going to be great. You can go to your friendly local game store. Frequently, they'll have some kind of message board or sometimes an online forum or something. And you can post looking for games or post looking to host a game, looking for players, and find people in your area who frequently attend that same gaming store and find people that way. Beyond that, there are plenty of mediums to find people online. The official Dungeons and Dragons organized play option is called Yawning Portal, and it's for their organized play league, which is a little bit different from your standard D&D game, but if you go into that, you're still going to have a great time. It's not that much different, but there are some rules just because you're playing with strangers, essentially. And there's a lot of services. Roll20 has a game forum where you can find games. There's an official D&D Discord channel run by Wizards of the Coast. There are online forums like Reddit. People do actually use sites like meetup.com and occasionally dating sites like Tinder and Match.com to find people to play with. That's probably not the route I would go specifically. There are dedicated apps for finding people to play tabletop RPGs with. I'm struggling to remember any names, but I know there's at least 3 that came out in the past year.
And that's something that we can easily link into the show notes. I think one thing that's worth maybe diving a little bit deeper into is the Roll20 interface. I think there's a few interfaces that do this, but Roll20 is probably the most popular, where, when we played, we didn't play with a map, but we did play where we could look at each other. So Roll20 is kind of a system. Imagine you go and you log into something and you click into your game. As a dungeon master, which is the role that I was filling, I can have like all of my maps hidden to where I know like, okay, we're going to go from point A to point B to point C, and I can have kind of creatures ready to go to run any combat. I can have all my notes kind of prepared in an organized way. From your perspective as somebody who's playing, I put a token on the board for you and I show you a map and I tell you what's going on. And occasionally I pull up like pictures or paragraphs so that you can either look at something or read something. It allows you to integrate music. And so if I want to have like ominous music as we get to something serious, or if I want to have like light jovial music in a tavern, it helps to really set that setting. So it's actually, given how many games have had to be online for the past few years, it's really a fantastic tool to have available to you that's super easy to use.
And I will personally say, while I am absolutely grateful, especially during these pandemic times, for the online tools, I will 100% plug just going down to your local game store and finding games that way. That was actually how I found both the very first game I ever played in, which lasted a long time, and also the Rise of the Rune Lords game that I was a player in back when Pathfinder was just a setting and not a rule set, which is what then led me to run it, like I have talked about, that Tyler was in later. And both of those sets of players and both of those games, I remember 15, 20 years later as the enormous fun that they were, having never met these people before. And, in both cases, the DMs were at least twice my age. A lot of the players were close to that age. And nobody minded that I was a 16-year-old kid or younger for the first game. I mean, I was, I think, 14 in Ben's campaign, showing up to play, because as long as you're there contributing to the story and everyone's having good time, there you go. So absolutely, the online tools are amazing. And Tyler talked about a lot of good ones, which you'll be able to look up whatever you want, whichever way you want to try and engage with that. Roll20 does have some really robust tools for DMs to be able to describe the sort of game that they're going to run, so that you can go through and pick a one that will, like, maybe I do want something a little more grimdark, or maybe I do want, something lighter because, hey, the world is kind of grimdark. And so I will definitely say that that's a great place to start if you don't know, like, I know nobody else who wants to play this game. I want to find a game. Roll20 is a pretty good place to just find a group and get going.
Now, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but if you're kind of on the younger or older ends of the age spectrum, D&D clubs and tabletop gaming clubs are becoming really popular in high schools and middle schools right now. Wizards of the Coast will frequently sponsor those clubs by sending them free books and stuff so that they have all the materials they need to play. So if you or someone you know is looking to get into D&D and they're in high school or middle school, see if the school has a club. That's a great way for people at those ages to get into the game, learn to play, and meet some people. I can't attest to this personally, but I have been told that people also play D&D in retirement homes now. So there is no maximum or minimum age here. If you look, you can find a game.
Yeah,
Oh,
by
that's
the
cool.
time we get there, we'll all be wizards.
I've got to grow my beard longer.
It's like I'm starting over. That's a visual joke. It's not going to work through the podcast. It's fine. Yeah, no, my oldest son is actually part of a D&D club in school, and I think is having a really great time with it. So definitely.
I do have another question, and it has to do with getting comfortable with the roles, the different characters, and the terminology that goes along with it. I mean, it's all so new to me that when we went through making the character, it was just a huge amount of information, and I really needed help to go through it. But I mean, how long were you guys playing before you felt like you knew what you were doing? Or do you feel that way even now?
So maybe as the most recent joiner, maybe I'll go first. So I kind of thought I knew what I was doing. Then I signed up to DM a game for Tyler with a few other friends. And afterwards, he didn't hate me and he kept answering my text messages. And so I figured I had made it. But, in kind of a more serious note, what I realized as I went through that is there's a ton of rules that as a DM or a player, I don't incorporate because I don't know them. And if you're unaware that you're skipping rules, like you're missing whole parts of the game. And that's one of the things that I thought was fantastic about playing with other people who have had different experiences, played in different games, is that they can bring in and say like, hey, by the way, you missed everything about lighting. What if you didn't? That'd be pretty cool, but in a really polite way so that you can incrementally add those things to your toolbox. I say that to say, like, I think you did fantastic. And I think you'll play next time and maybe one more rule will come up. And then the next time, one more rule will come up. And all of a sudden you wake up one day and you think, you know what? I actually have a pretty good grasp of what's going on here.
Well, and then the other thought I had was like, how long did it take before you felt comfortable taking on the role of DM?
So that's going to change. That answer is going to change for everybody. A lot of people won't DM for several years after they first play. Some people have never DM'd and never will. Some people DM the first time they play, especially if you're in a group of just people who've never played before. Someone has to DM. I cheated a little bit when I first learned to play, I was 11 and I needed people to play with. So I had to teach the other kids in the neighborhood how to play. And I got everything wrong. I was 11. It was 3rd edition. The rules were way more complicated than they are now, but we still had a great time. And as long as you understand things enough to get through a game and have fun, you know enough to run a game. And you know enough to say, yes, I know how to play this game. We are having fun, and that is the only measure of success.
Yeah, so I will say, first off, thank you. You measure of success, right? And it's good. But I mean, realistically, what you say is exactly I agree with. And the only thing I research game design, and one of the books that I read by an author, Jane McGonigal, called Reality is Broken, it provides a really easy 4-part definition of what a game is. And one of the things that always sticks with me is that when we break it down to even its core components, a game needs consistent rules. It doesn't matter what the rules are. Your players will be happy as long as you are enforcing them consistently, even if they are not the rules in the book, even if they're not rules that anyone has ever heard of before. As long as you are enforcing them consistently and people are having fun, your players are going to go along with it and they're going to have a good time. To answer that question, I think that the first time I DM'd was probably about 3 years after I first played. I first played when I was 13 and 16 when I first DM'd. And that wasn't because I felt like I needed that much time. It was because that's when I was like, man, I really like this game. I should introduce this to other people. And I think that that's probably going to be the main reason why a lot of people stretch their legs into DMing is like, oh man, I've been having this great time with this group. I have friends. My friends can have fun with this. I should teach my friends, and therefore I'm going to run the game. But realistically, the only criteria for yourself is, are you going to enjoy it? Because as long as you're running something that everyone's going to enjoy, yourself included, you're doing it right. You're DMing. And so even if you're not getting all the rules right, even if you're making things up out of whole cloth, that's fine. And the only thing that I would say is, whenever you feel like you will be confident enough to be speaking to a group of 4-ish people for a couple hours at a time, that's when you're ready.
I'm guessing that there are people, though, who just never end up doing that. They just prefer to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I guess one of the things I'll ask about, so I've never gone into a local game shop and tried to play. I've never gone online and tried to find a random game. I basically just, forced piles of people together into games whenever that I've really wanted to have a session. I say that to say, I can imagine your first time DMing, it'd be fantastic to do it with friends, with folks who are comfortable with you, know you on a personal. You've already built the goodwill to have a good time socially, and now you're just trying new framework, which is tabletop gaming. I say that to say, it would seem to me like probably getting a view of those kinds of sessions underneath your belt before you hop on to Roll20 and put your name in to run a session might make sense. But I don't know. What do you folks say?
Yeah, if you're going to run a game, personally, I'd say start with people you know. Even if it's a really small group, like start with one person, start with 2 people. That's totally fine. Starting with people who you're comfortable with, especially if they're willing to give you honest, kind feedback, like that's a great way to get comfortable with DMing, to improve your skills, to learn the game better. Throwing yourself to the wolves by DMing for random strangers might be a little much for the first time.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I have no evidence that anyone would ever be impolite, but I can also imagine.
Let me introduce you to the RPG horror stories subreddit.
Or just the internet.
Right. And that to that point, and I think Tyler just said something really topical. People giving you constructive feedback as you're DMing, because realistically, no one is going to be good at something. Sorry, no one is going to be perfect at something the first time they set out to do it. You can be good, and in fact, my Strahd game, the DM had never DM'd it before, and he was annoyingly fantastic, like preposterously bar-raising fantastic. I don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But with that being the clear exception, as you are going to tell a story the first time, this is a very different skill set than kind of anything except creative writing. And even while creative writing is the thing it's closest to, you're probably not creative writing a story with 5 people. It's a very different skill set than anything else. And don't be afraid to, heavy air quotes here, listeners, fail. Just get practice. In the same way that you just get practice building a character, and then eventually you'll understand optimization and be able to optimize to whatever you're trying to do. Just DM. Like, if you want to DM, just go. Even if you're quiet, even if you're, it's mostly like, I'm going to nose in the book, look at the numbers, just make sure that I'm doing the numbers right, and kind of halfway tell a story. People are still going to enjoy that. I mean, people enjoy playing games with no story. So if you're playing a game with a little story, people are still probably going to have a good time, and then be willing to take that criticism, and then practice. The more that you practice running a game, the better you're going to get, the more that mechanical stuff is going to be second nature, so that you can let the story you want to tell come to the forefront.
Oh, that's perfect.
I have another question, if it's okay.
Sweet.
That's awesome. That's exactly what we want.
So it has to do with how much a player knows when they're going in to play a game. And it came up a little bit, I think, when I was talking to Tyler, that if it's a published game, that you might have an idea of what it's going to look like, and that might help you to decide what kind of character that you want to be. But when I did the one game that I did, I had absolutely no idea what it was going to be about. So I'm guessing with published games, I mean, if you go into maybe a game shop like you talked about and join a group, that you might know what it's going to be, but how often do people play homebrew? Is it homebrew games versus published games? Is it more typical to play a published game? Is it more typical to play a homebrew game? I guess it depends on who you are, but tell me more.
Yeah, I'll say so. Definitely, that's going to be 100% up to the DM. A lot, especially in the very busy world we currently live in. One of the big benefits of a pre-written module is that you don't have to do nearly as much work to run it, right? You are not writing it; you are simply reading it, and that takes a lot less time to set up. I think it's going to probably skew more towards people running pre-written modules, but there are still plenty of people who, man, like I have this story in my head and I want to tell it and we're going to play it. And that's great. Now, to your point about do people know what they're getting into? The vast majority of the time, you're going to have what's called a session zero. So this is the DM and all the players getting together to meet to discuss what kind of story are we going into? What sort of expectations do I have about what this path is going to look like? What sort of expectations do you, the players, have about what this path is going to look like? How can I make sure that we are both contributing to the story we all want to experience? And so that's where you're going to get those sorts of questions answered. Like, what am I getting into? Okay, well, if you don't have a session zero, if you do just go in blind, you're going to maybe have this character that's, oh man, I'm like modern day Sherlock Holmes. I am great at solving crimes. I can find all these sorts of things. And we're tracking a goblin army. Great. Not helpful. Session zero is always a good idea. The 2, 3, 4 hours you lose at the beginning are going to be more than made up for by how much greater enjoyment everyone is going to take out of the experience over the next, even if it's just a one shot. If you can fit in an hour long or even a half hour, like, hey, real super basic, here's what we're doing, get your characters made, here's the rules for making characters, go, and then we'll actually get to play next week.
Yeah, and I guess I'll say if you can't make the session zero happen, and I know we talked about in a previous episode that hasn't aired yet, so there we go. We talked about this idea that sometimes like you just want to get somebody into the game. If you have a group of people and they say let's play right now, and we have hours, which is likely coming over the holidays, there's going to be good times for this. If you find yourself in that scenario, if you can do the prep work ahead of time, if you can do this asynchronously through text message or chatting, email, however you like to communicate, you can, I think, answer some of these questions. I will say, like, practically for what we did, I got your class ahead of time from Tyler. And so you worked with Tyler to figure out what kind of character you wanted to build. And then I made sure that there were fun things for your character in the one shot I made.
Well,
and I think
I did enjoy that element of not knowing what was coming. I mean, I had no idea, and that was really fun.
And I think like if a group of players want that, I think they can ask for that. And this is what I was going to say. So, Random always talks about the social fix, and I think this is a great place to call it in, to say if a group of players want that mystery and they want to go in and not know what they're getting into other than the highest level, that a lot of times can be something a DM's going to provide. With a published module, I'd say that's a little bit harder, just because as soon as I say Descent into Avernus, okay, you kind of know what you're getting into. Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden, it's probably going to be cold. I've got, I'm able to put this together. Nobody knows what a rhyme is, so we were safe as far as that went. But anyway.
Well, that just led me to another question. So there are these modules that you can play. I don't know how many are out there in the world, but do you ever play them more than once?
So
like with a different group, or
it's a little unusual for people to play the same module more than once as a player. That said, I'm sure there are people that do it. I don't know anyone personally who has done that, but some of the more recent official modules have had some degree of randomization in them so that the story changes a little bit every time you play. There are DMs who will run their favorite module multiple times. So people really, really like Curse of Strahd, which Random has mentioned a few times. So people will run Curse of Strahd multiple times for different groups, and there's enough randomization in that adventure that it's a little bit different every time, so the DM doesn't get bored. But it is unusual for players to play the same published module more than once. But there's enough of them out there that there aren't enough hours in a lifetime to play everything that has ever been published. Like, there is no end to variety.
Yeah, I think another piece of this worth mentioning. So there are like one-shot modules, and you would consider what we did together as a one-shot. You know, we can likely get together. If we can't finish it in one short session, certainly across 2 we could.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the published modules, like the thicker books that you can see on Tyler's shelf, these are it's calling it a module, I think, is selling it short. It's a campaign. Most of these will take you through 4 or 5 levels, if not 10 levels of the game, and you could potentially meet on a weekly basis for months and not finish one.
Okay.
And so I guess I wanted to make that clear, to then say that's the reason people aren't necessarily like starving for content and playing the same module over and over again as a player, is because it's probably more fun for everybody to just go to another module. I would say one situation you might find yourself in where you might play a module again, especially if you've maybe only just gotten into it, is if you have a TPK, a total party kill, where everyone dies. You might either pick it up where you left off, or you might go a few steps back and then hop into it because you really want to see how it ends.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
I've been in a couple of those years-long running games. Random ran Rise of the Rune Lords for me and a few of our other friends, and I think that campaign went for what, 1.5 years, 2 years before we got to the end?
You were in it for 1.5 years. It was 2.5 years before the thing ended, yeah.
Yeah, I had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts, unfortunately, but I got to be in the last session, which was very exciting.
Well, I have a question that has to do with choosing a character. So the character that I ended up with, Andre Tea Leaf, I felt like it was a character that was kind of like who I am. That was kind of what I was going for, as far as someone that kind of would like to be more in the background. If you're like, if you're on a team, you're the one who's running around the edges, gathering information, finding things, helping people. I really identified with that role. Do you think that people tend to do that, or does anyone that would feel comfortable in that kind of role ever decide, hey, I'm going to be, a warrior or something that's going to lead the charge? And I mean, do you guys ever choose a role that's completely different than your own personality just to try it out? And does that go well?
So I will speak to this with some psychology. If you've ever been in a therapist's office, particularly any therapist that works with children, you may have seen a sandbox and a enormous, shelves full of toys. So a thing which is known when they are using this as a therapeutic technique for kids is that the first toy a child chooses represents themselves every time. And that's just how humans are. So in a very similar way, pretty much 100% of the time, the first character a person makes is going to be representative of themselves. Now, in general, I will usually say that every character somebody makes is a caricature of some aspect of themselves, unless they are very intentionally trying to do something different. And then that character will likely start the way that they are designing it and over time become some caricature of themselves. But I mean, realistically, short of a lot of training and practice, you're going to behave the way you're going to behave as a person. And if you're inhabiting this character for dozens, hundreds of hours over the course of a campaign, it's going to be an extension of you. Now, it's not going to be exactly you generally, but one of the things that I have really enjoyed over the campaigns that I've played is different DMs will do different things to help make you invest in a character and help make that character feel fleshed out. And so something as simple as pick 3 pillars that matter to your character enormously, whether that's family, strength, honor, protecting innocence, whatever. And really, with those 3 pillars, think about, I know how this character embraces those 3 beliefs very strongly, those 3 core beliefs. And with that information, I can shape how it's going to act in any situation. So I have played dozens of characters over the years, and I absolutely think that they have all been pieces of me exaggerated somehow with some extra bits. But in general, like I said, I mean, you can't act in a way that you aren't unless you spend a lot of time thinking about it. So every character that people are going to play is going to be some reflection of themselves.
And I think a couple things we're calling out for this. One is like pick an aspect of yourself, or pick a piece of yourself that you want to highlight, or you want to exaggerate, or you want to grow with. So you brought up the example of like being a warrior. I think that's fantastic. And maybe the thing that you would feel is a desire to protect the party, because that might be a piece of you where even if it doesn't manifest itself in everyday life, in the game, in real life, you understand that there are folks that you love that you want to protect, and in the game, it's something that you could channel into the character.
Okay.
And so picking pieces like this of things that you want to grow, I think can help you, really, to get there. The other piece of this I'll bring up is, I don't know how much you talked with Tyler about character alignment, but the idea that you can be lawful or neutral or chaotic on one dimension, and you can be good or neutral or evil on another dimension. I think one of the other things that you can do is actually go clear the opposite way. Pick something that has nothing to do with you. Pick something that is very against everything that you represent, and try that for a little bit. And so imagine if your character was like a chaotic, evil character, because I think you're a good person, so we're going to go with this.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So imagine, you have this chaotic, evil character, and you're going to do a one shot, and you're going to be in a situation where there's a motivation for the characters to do something that's evil, and you're going to go pull it off, and you have to push yourself to do those. So even as a human being, you would never, but in the session, it's something that makes sense. That might be a good way to exercise being someone else, because it's safe and it has an expiration. You don't have to be this evil character for, and evil could just be tying someone's shoes together. It doesn't have to be so dramatic.
It doesn't have to involve twirling mustaches.
So it's like dressing up for Halloween with some character that you would never be. Okay.
Because you get to take it off the next day. Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Preferably that night even. Depends on how your Halloweens go, I suppose.
Well, I do have one other thing, and it has to do with when you're playing the game and you have a character that has a certain skill set that's been, chosen, or it goes with your character, and you get into a situation where you might decide that you need to use some kind of skill that you're like 0 or -1 or something. I mean, is that something that happens and you just like, well, you know what, I'll just take a shot here. I'd have to luckily roll an extremely high number. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
it happens all the time.
And yeah, Random loves to call this out, right? D&D 5th edition is meant to be a bounded system, and what he tells me that means is that the dice should always be more influential than the skill number, which is a fancy way of saying, like, you might have a +3 on animal handling because you're a druid, and you have -1 on intimidation because you're not an intimidating druid. But the variance in that +3 to -1 versus what you're going to roll on the die,
Okay.
it isn't such a big deal.
Yeah, and I will say, we've talked about this in some of our other episodes, particularly like the failure one. Just because you don't roll well on a check doesn't mean that's bad storytelling. And we talked about ways to actually make that interesting. And, if your skill set is not particularly suited to the task at hand, then there's a couple things that can be solutions for that. Maybe that's because your party is optimized around one person is really good at talking to people. This person is often called the face, and when we talk about these roles, and a lot of times, it's just, all right, we have some social situation. Bard, go do your thing. The rest of us are going to go get snacks for 20 minutes while you talk to the DM. And that's fine. That's a perfectly legitimate way to play. Or you can also say, you know what? Though my character would not agree with the thing that the face just said, I'm going to make my own damn persuade roll, and I'm going to roll a 4, and it's going to be great. Right? And that's amazing. That's good storytelling. That's good role play, which is really what this is about. A lot of times we can feel pigeonholed into only doing the things that our characters are good at, but that's not how people work in the real world. Absolutely, hearkening all the way back to episode 1, absolutely, you may try and figure out ways to make a situation play to your strengths. Maybe you are trying to investigate instead of perceive, but realistically, that's fine. If you are trying to say, man, I really want to do this thing and my character's only sort of mediocre at it the way that we describe, but I can be creative this way and maybe that's how I can apply my skills. That's going to be good storytelling. And so I actively encourage you to do things outside what your character sheet says you're good at.
Oh, cool.
All right. Well, Jody, thank you very much for going through this exercise. I had a lot of fun with you.
I had fun also. Going into it, I kind of thought it would be a little more intimidating than it actually was. And I don't know if those are the right words, but I just kind of had it in mind that this is going to be something that's really complex. I mean, it is still complex, but having the experience of going through it, I thought, I can do this. This is fun. I can do this. So
All right,
thank you. I really appreciate all three of you.
All right. I have to ask the question. Are you going to play again?
I'm going to play again. I did play again, just
Oh,
one.
you've already played again.
Just once. So we started a game and
Okay.
it didn't last very long, but we're going to work on it some more.
You're
soon as
going
we
to
get
have
a chance.
another session in the game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is exciting. So, Jody, thank you very much. Tyler Random, thank you very much. And yeah, to talk to the audience for a second, if you came upon this randomly, we're going to put notes in the show notes. We're going to put notes in the show notes to give you resources to find a game around you. Definitely take a look at your local game shop because that's going to be one of the greatest ways to find it, especially if you're looking for an in-person. If you didn't randomly find this, if you were recommended by somebody because you said, hey, I kind of want to learn more about this, and they said, just listen to this arc, that's your person. That is your spirit guide. You go find that person and you say, hey, I listened and I didn't hate it. And now I want to play tabletop gaming. Let's do this together. I'll give you a secret. The fact that the person shared it with you probably means that that person might be interested in playing a game with you. You should follow through on it. Hope you have a great time with them. You'll find affiliate links for source books and other materials linked in the show notes. Following these links helps us to make this show happen every week. You can find our podcast wherever fine podcasts are distributed. If you enjoy this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe. Share it with your friends. All right, thanks, folks. Talk soon.
Oh, there's a fly in my beer.
That's not what you want.
Wow.
Give it back, you wee bastard.